Hey guys, this is Stu here, and welcome back to part 2 of my top 20 video games. So this 2012 version. That's what I'm calling it. And we'll get right into this, and we'll start with number 2, which is around here somewhere, Pokemon White version 2. Now, like I just said with Pokemon Black, in the last one, it was a fresh start to take on Pokemon, and what Pokemon Black and Pokemon White did is they introduced a whole load of new Pokemon, new towns, new concepts, new region, and now what Pokemon Black and White 2 have done is revamped it, refined it, and perfected it to a point where I'm just going to adjust this a little bit. And basically they've taken that to the next level. They also incorporated older Pokemon. In my current run, I'm using a Pokemon from each generation. Because this might be the last Pokemon game I buy, because I'm 19 years old, you know. I may buy more, may not. Decide later. Just want to make sure. I'm using my Generation 1 Pokemon is my Lapras. Generation 2 is my Ampharos. Generation 3 is my Slaking. Generation 4 is... trying to think what's my Generation 4 Pokemon. I don't know. I'm going to load up the game real quick while I think more. I'll just say my 5th generation Pokemon, I'm using 2 of them. I'm using a Emboar and a Unpheasant, whatever the frick it is. It's spelled weird. I'm not 100% sure how you're supposed to say that. It looks pretty, it's somewhat useful, it's really surprisingly broken. Anyone who's played the game knows that the critical hit ratio is way up there. Not red and blue high, but it's high. And this one has super luck, and I found out it learns Air Cutter, which has a critical hit, a higher chance for a critical hit. So the move has like an 80% chance to crit, or something like that, and it's a 60 base damage move with stab, meaning it's like a 90 base power move that has an 80% chance to do double damage, effectively making it 180 base power. So the game's loaded up. My 4th generation Pokemon is Lucario, that's right. Some of them I've traded over. The Lapras and the Slaking I've obviously traded over, but it's because I want to have decent Pokemon that were somewhat decent to use from those generations, and there was none present that I could find or that I could get early enough in the game so that they would be able to have some EVs to take on the Elite Four. Admittedly, some of these Pokemon are really lacking defense, so whatever. I just like it because it revamps the whole system and incorporates a nostalgia effect to the game. Moving on to that, we have the next game, which is the first and I believe last one to have multiple entries or multiple forms. Why is that game on the list twice? Huh, I made a weird boo-boo in my list. Well, anyway, the next game is Ocarina of Time 3D. It was, again, an update to an old game. Ocarina of Time got a graphical update, a control update, some very nice other kinds of updates. You could take the Iron Boots on and off by the push of a button. You could aim the slingshot and the bow and arrows with gyroscopic controls, same with the hookshot. Really fun to play unless you're in a car and you're driving with someone else. You cannot play it like that because the gyroscopic controls take over and you will miss, because your hands will be sitting there doing this ever so slight bounce, which is, believe me, just enough. And whenever you turn, it really throws you off. So there's that. It was just a really nice update to a game, and I can take it wherever I want. So I really did just enjoy it a lot. Oh god, I just dropped something. I hope that's okay. I don't see any damage. I'm just going to turn on just to make sure. But continuing on, my next game is what used to be my favorite RPG of all time, until we got to what my number 2 spot game is. Final Fantasy IV: The Complete Collection. my way I got into Final Fantasy is my inspiration to LP, kind of. I ended up watching an LP by Yulia. He's kind of what I consider who I consider to be my inspiration. He's really small, but for an LP or not, he may or may not do it anymore. I don't know. I hope he does. But he did an LP of Final Fantasy IV Advance, which I paid $13 for at GameStop, and I got into it around the time he got to Gulbez. He encountered Gulbez at Fabul Castle, and I'm spoiling some of the game, but it's early game, so it doesn't matter. That theme hit. The music had gotten me, the gameplay had gotten me, the story had gotten into me and compelled me. I realized, holy crud, I need to get this game. And I got it. And lo and behold, I fell in love with Final Fantasy IV and the Final Fantasy series in general. To the point now that I have Final Fantasy 1, I want 3 on the PS3. I will have 2 versions of 4. Final Fantasy IV Prelude, Final Fantasy IV the After Years now. I want to get Final Fantasy V. I have a ROM of it, but I want a legal copy version because there it is available now, and I don't do ROMs unless I cannot get it any other way. I actually need to delete one, or if I'm going to keep it for getting also higher up on my list, this one. I want that. I want Final Fantasy V. I don't want 6. I don't like Kefka. Flame Shield up. I have Final Fantasy 7. I don't want 8. It's respectable, just not my kind of game. Don't care for the leveling up system, all that. I want 9. I have 10. I've never even actually seen 11. I've seen 12 via HC Bailey. Don't want it. Too MMO-ish. 13, don't want it. 13.2, don't want it. 14, we don't speak of. So, I've got a fair few. I want a lot. 2 is considerable, but I have never seen that anywhere besides the DS remake, and I don't know if I want that. So, anyway, moving on to anyway, just to get back and explain this, it took Final Fantasy IV, which was a game I was already highly in love with. I considered it my favorite RPG ever, and it, by all means, was at the time, until I played the number 2 game again. It just took the game and made it better. It updated the looks of the game, so it was kind of cool, like a little bit awkward. I think Cecil's Dark Knight armor looks a little strange, but whatever. It made the attack animations beyond cool. And then it combined pretty much everything but every version of Final Fantasy IV together, pretty much, except for Final Fantasy IV DS, which I'm sad. I wish it would have taken the DS games, like Super Bosses, the what's it called? The Giant of Babel prototype or whatever on the moon. I haven't actually ever played the DS version of that, so I don't know what it's called. But basically, it's every Final Fantasy game, just 4 game, just together, and I love it. I need to get playing Final Fantasy IV the After Years since H.E. Bailey is getting close to the end of it, and I want to watch that LP of his. And if I get stuck, I can use that as a guide. So, moving on to the next one. Let's see. Ooh, here's the boo-boo I made. What I'm thinking happened is this is another game that had a double entry. I'm not sure which one it is. This game has taken the number 7 and the 4 spots somehow. It is... Some consider it the best Mario game. Some don't. It's Super Mario Bros. 3. This is the first game I ever played. This very card. I'm getting a Skype message right as the epic moment and seriousness takes over on my face. I'm just gonna tell him I'm busy real quick. So, this is what got me into games. What happened is I played this when I was 3 years old. That's 1996. After September 30th. So it was either that or 97. Before 30th of September 30th of 97 or after 96. I think it was summer, so it was probably 97. In fact, I know it was because my dad was never home. So I beat this. Memory tells me an hour, but I do question it from time to time because, I mean, a 3-year-old beating any game in an hour, let alone a really hard NES game in an hour, is really out there. It's just, it's still, it's so good. I love it. I play the Game Boy Advance version of it every once in a while, only because it's more accessible and it's easier to plug this into my fat silver DS, which is broken. Still works though. Or my GBA or my DS Lite. Versus plugging up the NES, plugging this in, trying to get the thing to work, you know, the 20-year-old technology. So if I'm going to place one, for convenience sake, I have to say the GBA version's better, but only for convenience sake. And I mean, the graphics I don't care for. This has that nostalgia factor for me, though. Probably a reason why it's so high, possibly, but also just because it is such a really good game. The next game on the list, number 6, I believe, is actually one I've just beaten for the second time, as I just said, Metroid Zero Mission. This is a GBA remake of the original Metroid, which I have played. I have it downloaded on here. I obviously have the Metroid Prime version, and I have this remake version, which is my favorite version of Metroid, the original Metroid. It takes the original Metroid map, level design, areas, gives them a Super Metroid style overhaul graphically, gives it Super Metroid style graphics, gives it some of the new items like the plasma beam, which wasn't in the original, but you don't get to use them right away. You have to get to the one place in Chozodia after you beat Mother Brain to do it. So it's just an all-around really nice update to a good old game. I like it. I can't 100% it yet. I don't know where everything is. I just, like I said, beat it for the second time today. I just got it from my friend. He just gave it to me like Tuesday of last week, so almost a week ago. And it's nice. I do consider it one of my favorite games. Okay, number 5. The big ones, people. This game holds a special place in my heart, this next one. It is Pokemon Emerald. Pokemon Emerald is not the first Pokemon game I played. That belongs to, there it is, Sapphire. Woo! Sapphire. I like blue, okay? I was a kid, so I picked it. Plus it was the better version. I liked Legendary better, etc., etc. But I played Sapphire, and then I played Ruby, and I'm like, you know what would be really cool? If they mashed these games together. They did. Do I need to say much more? It took the awesomeness that was Ruby and Sapphire, mashed them together. Unfortunately, my only gripe with Emerald is the champion. He's not deserving of the champion title or theme. And the more annoying thing is that my friend's the first third generation game he played was Emerald, so he considers Wallace to be the champion of the Hoenn region, and it bugs me beyond belief because he has never faced the awesomeness that is Steven. Anyway, moving on with that. Again, number 4 was Super Mario Bros. 3, so we're going straight to number 3. And sadly, the last 3 games, only one of them isn't a PS3 game. The first one is one I actually have not showed anything of. I have showed it. I used it in my quality test videos, and that is Dynasty Warriors Gundam 3. Totally nerdy, totally out there, but it to me, I'm a Gundam fan. I thoroughly enjoy the UC timeline. I love to play as of new Gundam unicorns. I love unicorn, pretty much the most in a UC storyline and of mobile suit design. I love playing as the Zeta Gundam. I love playing as Wing Zero. Um, a lot of these, it just lets me experience some good old Gundam fun without having to watch an anime. I can't play, Extreme Versus since I don't have a Japanese PSN account. I don't particularly care for trying to deal with the Japanese too, so just not gonna deal with it. I'm just gonna move. I'm just moving around. My legs hurt. So to me, it's just a way to experience some good old Gundam fun. I enjoy the game a lot. It doesn't get much simpler than that. The next game, you should all know this one very well so far. Skies of Arcadia Legends, the honkin' $55 GameCube game I bought, fell in love with, that took away what Final Fantasy IV, or took over the place that Final Fantasy IV had held in my heart for so long. Final Fantasy IV was, like I said, it held another special place in my heart, being my favorite RPG of all time. That came along and just ripped it out. Not in a bad way. Was it painful? Yeah, actually it was kind of painful, but it was a good pain. A really good pain. I'm really looking forward to recording more of this. I do want to play more of it. I want to show you more of the game. I want to get going. We have to get through the rest of the Nassau region, and I can get through that dungeon quick. So, just, it took this... It's a strange RPG for what it is, to be honest. By RPGs, usually they're set in some kind of medieval Europe, some kind of medieval or time, or a super hyper futuristic time. No in between. The attacks are usually based on fire, ice, lightning, elemental, nothing. The debuffs are pretty lame, usually the same things. I mean, sleep, paralysis, some way to lower stats that are weird or something. The battle systems aren't there. There's always some kind of big move. This game does have that. It does have fire-based attacks, lightning-based, ice-based, super move, limit breaks, whatever you want to call them. But they're more interesting. The way you learn a limit break isn't because of massive grinding, killing tons of enemies like Final Fantasy VII, hunting them down and getting them from enemies randomly, namely Quistis from Final Fantasy VIII. The spells you learn just by using them. The game feels really weird fresh and new. It has that added bonus of the ship battles, which are very cool feeling. I mean, it really is cool to strategize like that. It's almost an RTS kind of game strategy, but not. I mean, you do plan and think ahead, but you really do have to do that kind of strategic thinking. The weapons aren't like the main thing. I don't know. It's such a good game. I can't really explain why it's so charming. I'd rather show it to you. So, for the sake of that, I'm not going to talk about this game anymore because I'm going to record it soon. And the final game, what I consider to be my favorite game as of right now. This list will change by next year, and this game will probably hold a lower spot, but it will still probably be in the top 5. Now, like I said, the last 3 games were 2 PS3 games and a GameCube game. I've showed you 1 PS3 game, and I've showed you the GameCube game. Meaning this is a PS3 game, and it was one of my first. It's the whole reason I got into a series. it's the first game I played in a series. Well, no, I did play the first one before this, but it revolutionized this series and made it good. It's based it made the base for the next 4 or 5 games. Well, not 4 or 5 games. There's not that even. How many are in the series? There's this one. The next 3 main titles of the series basically are based off this one game. Assassin's Creed 2. I know it's recent, I know it's new, I know it's not an in-depth masterpiece kind of game like some people place it or consider Ocarina of Time. I'm going to get flamed for this game being on this game over something like Ocarina of Time or Sonic or Pokemon or Metroid. But to me, this one stands out. I mean, it was a free roaming game, which I like. It was a you can do whatever you want kind of game, but it didn't feel like a Grand Theft Auto game. I was compelled by the story. It was betrayal. It was some aspects of love. There was mystery. There was action, some adventure, some comedy. It could take itself seriously. The characters, I really wanted to hate them because you spent a whole hour and a half for each target just to kill one man. And you got to know them and really hate them, and I love to hate these people. And the cities look great. It takes place in Italy, which I am highly fascinated with. It's historic. I myself am Italian, and I love to speak Italian. If I'm not going to do it on camera, sorry, but I love it. The technology is interesting. I've tried designing my own hidden blades, and I've made up one using the Armina wheel. I've combined it with a hidden pistol, which doesn't function the way it should. It can't, because the only way it could get to function is with actual bullets, and I'm not going to fire an actual bullet because they can kill things. So yeah, no. But it held a special place in my heart, and I can't. Well, it does. It's the one I consider the best. Brotherhood. I mean, I think I placed that earlier down in the video. Yeah, I did. I placed it at number 17. It's better than Brotherhood. Brotherhood it's really hard to compare to or decide which one's better, 2 or Brotherhood. 2 was the original that did it. Brotherhood took that, added in that assassin feature, the parachute. It continued the same story in an aspect, but it lacked the amount of story this game had. Brotherhood just didn't have as much, and Revelations doesn't even compare. And then the newly released 3, it's better than Revelations. It actually does have a chance of comparing with them, but not as much, because you don't get this feeling of hate for any character other than Charles Lee in 3. You don't, Haytham and Charles Lee are the only 2 that you really feel an emotional connection to. It's like, say, Pitcairn. It feels almost like, why am I killing this guy? What's he done wrong? Besides, support the army that's suppressing the Americans. So it's like, well, why am I killing these men besides the fact that they're harming? What's my emotional reason doing so? Excuse me. Haytham, you felt like, do I kill this guy? Do I not? He's my father. This is not a Star Wars spoiler thing. You find that out in the game anyway. It's not like, oh my god, no. He's your father. You end up killing him because he's the Grand Master. Spoilers, duh. Charles Lee wants to take your land where your people live. I mean, it really is just not as emotionally connective as 2. And Brotherhood had the same flaw with its characters the main people you hunt down. There's very few of them. They're all Borgia. And you feel almost no reason to kill them, beyond that you have to. you have no emotional reason to, like you did in this, where it was revenge for your family dying, and then also helping people. So it's like it had that emotional quality, something that no other Assassin's Creed game has ever had. Not Bloodlines, not one, not any of the two or three DS games, where I don't know how many there are, the DS iPhone ones. It just, I don't know, two I consider to be the best, and it's what I consider to be the best video game in my opinion, to me. I know there are better, I know there are other ones, but it just won the game, and I had to compare it against everything from Skyward Sword to my fighting games like Dragon Ball Z, which I also highly enjoyed as a kid, and I still do, to comparing it against Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, Sonic Mega Collection, Zelda Spirit Tracks, all these many, many great games. It was so hard to pick one, and for now, I'm gonna go with two. So with that, my friends, this is two. This is my top 20 favorite games, and Assassin's Creed 2 is my favorite game as of 2012. I'll see you guys next time on Metroid Prime or Skies of Arcadia Legends. See ya.